Hi, I'm Jen.
I'm Sophia.
And I'm Zoe.
And welcome to Every Rom Com, the podcast where we have fun taking romantic comedies seriously.
This week on Every Rom Com, we're spontaneously getting off a train in Vienna, Austria.
We'll spend the night with Jesse and Celine as they talk about love, art, philosophy, palm readers, poets, and pantomime cows.
And we'll explore the work of Richard Linklater, one of the defining independent directors of Generation X, as we talk about his 1995 cult romance, Before Sunrise. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
So today, we have the pleasure of introducing a new guest host, Zoe Wroten-Heinzmann. I met Zoe while living in Portland, Oregon in the mid-2000s, and Zoe currently has some really cool, interesting projects going on. Zoe is the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Monadnock Underground, a small independent publisher and literary magazine in southern New Hampshire. Their projects include the just-released This Is Not Ordinary Time, about spiritual searching and the desire for community during times of upheaval, anthologies of mostly local speculative fiction and spiritual writing, and a sporadic podcast of their own, Underground Over the Air. She rounds out her days embarking on homeschool adventures with her kids, working as a religious educator, learning Tai Chi, and tending her fruit trees and chickens. Welcome to Every Rom-Com, Zoe.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on.
Wow, what fruit trees can you grow in New Hampshire?
We grow a lot of things. I've had my best success with peaches, actually. I think of them as a more southern fruit. I'm from the South, so I'm really, really happy that I can grow super ripe, fresh peaches here. What I can't grow is apples. Even though we're known for apples, I can't grow one yet.
Wow. I wish you could see my face. I'm like, wow, peaches. And then, the apple thing. Wild. Good for you. That's so cool.
Thanks.
Just that you grow things. I have a garden, but I kind of just let them all grow wild and never pick things. Or if I do, I don't trim them down, or I don't know. I keep monarchs when they lay eggs. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
So that's the secret of growing fruit, though, is that you really, it's you go dig a hole and then you plant and water them, and then you don't have to do a whole lot else. So it sounds really cool and it seems really fancy, but it's because I'm too lazy to grow vegetables.
That's awesome.
So, Zoe, I kind of I've been seeing your project, your Monadnock Underground. I've been seeing it on Facebook for a while, but when did you actually start that? And what made you start it?
That's a really great question. So my co-founder, Chris, and I we were involved in political work together. And it was 2 years ago, January, he messages me out of the blue and he's like, I have a really bad idea. Do you want to hear it? And I'm like, definitely. And he's like, we should start a Medium public, on medium.com. We should start a publication on Medium, and we can gather all of our writer friends, because a lot of us were kind of spontaneously challenging each other to put our writing out there. I had just put out probably the first public piece, ever. Maybe, I don't think the anthology of American poetry that they get you to do when you're in elementary school and you send in your $10 and then you get a book with your poem.
Or don't forget our zine, Zoe.
Oh yeah, was that public? Does that count as public? I'm not sure.
I mean, I left some in cafes, so they were somebody.
Yes. So my first public writing since the zine days.
Yeah.
And he was like, we could just gather them together and give it a name and encourage each other to write that way. And it kind of has just taken on its own life from there. It's it just needed to come into existence. And at first we started out doing quarterly print issues, and we did 2 of those and they did really well. We totally sold out of the second one. Our local library started throwing release parties for us. And the second issue came out on March 17th, 2020. I don't know if that date feels familiar to you, because to me it was the last thing that anyone did before we weren't allowed to do anything anymore.
Sure.
And so during the pandemic, we've focused more on putting out collections that are not quarterly, more themed collections of various types of fiction. We've got a Crimes and Spies one coming out next month.
That's so great.
Yeah, it's just been a lot of fun, and it's like we're encouraging people to just put their stuff out there. We're giving people a home for their writing, and that feels really awesome. I think 3 different people that I know of for sure have finished books because of us.
Oh, wow.
Either like because of our direct encouragement or because they're on the future publication schedule. That's a really awesome feeling to just be able to spark people's creativity in that way. And that's really what the mission of the whole thing is.
And do you have any plans for the future, or do you just see it like continuing to grow organically, or like?
I think that this is the type of project that every time we've tried to put our own ideas on it, it's just pushed itself in its own direction. So
cool.
I mean, the plans for the future, we like, when I say this book, This Is Not Ordinary Time, was just released. I mean, literally, Chris got the box of them on Thursday. So, no one even has a copy of it yet, although we did some pre-sales. So that just came out. Then we've got the Crimes and Spies book the next month. And then we've got a book of like gonzo road tales that a friend of ours finished that's coming out this year. And we're starting to get book submissions for things that we were interested in publishing next year. So it's kind of
nice.
It's just kind of, stacking up in exciting ways.
I just want to say it's so exciting. So cool.
It is exciting. It's like never-ending excitement.
Okay, so you can find Zoe's work and her collaborators' work at www.monadnockunderground.com. And since you might not know how to spell that, we will include a link in the show notes. And they also have a Facebook page, too, that you can seek out. And anything else you want to say about your project or anything before we begin?
Just, we're always accepting submissions. We do a lot of publication online for things that don't necessarily make it into print, but that's a way in. We're almost always accepting submissions for just whatever you want to send that might make it online. We might save it for a future print project, but thanks.
Very cool.
Before we get started with Before Sunrise, we just want to give a few reminders. The first section of our show will be spoiler-free, and we'll give you a warning when we're about to discuss spoilers. And we will not be spoiling Before Sunset or Before Midnight in the spoiler section either. So don't worry if you've never have seen them and you've only seen the first film.
And we'd also like to remind you that you can follow the podcast on social media. Our Facebook page is Every Rom Com Podcast and Blog. Our Instagram is @Every Rom Com, and our Twitter handle is @Every Rom Com Pod.
And as always, you can find the podcast at everyromcom.com. Send us feedback at feedback@everyromcom.com. And if you like what you hear, please rate and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts so you never miss an episode. Now we'll hear part of the trailer for Before Sunrise.
All right, I have an admittedly insane idea, but if I don't ask you this, it's just going to haunt me the rest of my life. I have no idea what your situation is, but I feel like we have some kind of connection, right?
Yeah, me too.
Great. So listen, here's the deal. This is what we should do. You should get off the train with me here in Vienna. Come check out the town. We just got into Vienna today, and we're looking for something fun to do. Sprechen Sie English?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Do you speak German for a change?
Now I'm gonna call my best friend in Paris, who I'm supposed to have lunch with in 8 hours. Okay?
Okay.
Ring, ring. Pick up the phone.
Hello?
I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it for lunch today, I'm sorry. I met a guy on the train and I got off with him in Vienna. We're still there.
Are you crazy?
Probably. He has beautiful blue eyes, nice pink lips, frizzy hair. I love it. I like to feel his eyes on me when I lead the way. You couldn't possibly know why a night like this is so important to my life right now. But it is. Since we're never going to see each other again, I don't think we should sleep together.
Let's see each other again.
I don't want you to break our vow, just so you can get laid.
I can feel the 90s.
I can feel the 90s for sure.
I can feel the 90s coursing through my veins listening to that music, which I don't believe was in the film. It's never in the film. The music in the trailer, never in the film. It's like a rule. And you're
Not
right. It
humble
is all
beginnings.
her. It is all her in the speaking, isn't it? That's interesting.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And she was not the more famous or marketable star at the time. Like Ethan Hawke was like big.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. You're right. Weird.
Hmm. Any more about the trailer, or you want to start introducing the movie?
Let's get into the movie. Before Sunrise came out in 1995. I was a junior in high school. I was like 16, 17 years old. Directed by Richard Linklater, also written by him and Kim Krizan, starring Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. Interesting facts about this film. It was made for $2.5 million and grossed $5.5 million. And it didn't make much, but it became the cult classic that we love. Initially, there were plans to shoot cheaply in San Antonio, Texas. At the time, Lily Taylor was under consideration for the female lead. That blows my mind. All of these people blow my mind. Next, Sadie Frost, who played Lucy in Bram Stoker's Dracula, was one of the final two candidates for the female lead. Also in consideration, or who auditioned, Gwyneth Paltrow and Jennifer Aniston, which is crazy to me. Man, any one of those four ladies would have been a completely different film.
Yeah. I think the Lily Taylor version would have been interesting, but yeah, I think
I agree.
filming it in Europe just made it a totally different other thing, which was cool.
Yeah, totally. And so it was, they had a 3-week intensive workshop in Vienna before filming, and they filmed in 25 days. So Before Sunrise is the first of a trilogy, followed by Before Sunset, which came out in 2004, and Before Midnight, which came out in 2013. And the whole trilogy has been released by Criterion Collection.
And I own it.
I mean, I have them too individually, like as they came out. There's sporadic talk of making more movies with the same characters, but there's no immediate plans to make more.
Yeah, I would like to see more. What about you guys? Well, so Zoe, have you still not seen the second two?
I have not. I've only seen this one.
No, I love it. I love it. You'll have a very different perspective. I love it. But so Sophia, would you like to see more, or are you indifferent? Do you think it's perfect the way it is? What do you think?
I totally would. Like I
without spoiling it.
I know. I just love these characters. So like, I don't know if it just from when it came out and that age for me when it came out, and just I don't know, but I have like such a like love affair, if you will, with this whole series and these characters, and just perhaps what these actors and Linklater and just symbolize from, you know, that time period that I love so much.
Did you see it when it came out? I was 10. I only saw it like last year.
Last year? Really?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Really.
So I was like 17. I didn't see it in the theaters. Jen, did you?
I don't think I saw it in the theaters. I don't think it had a very wide release, but I definitely saw it on video soon after it came out, if I didn't see it in theaters, you know?
Right.
I remember seeing it at that age.
Yeah.
And what did you think about it at the time, Soph? Like,
oh, man, I loved it. Well, because, I mean, I loved Reality Bites for sure, you know, and I was already
Ethan Hawke.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I just am disgusted with myself how every time I see his picture, I'm like, oh, Ethan. and I'm like, because I just instantly go back to being 17, and it's, I don't know, ridiculous. Nice. I am disgusted with myself for that, but I'm also like, come on, that's all right.
I mean, he's a pretty good one. Like, he's aged well too, so I don't think you should be ashamed.
I think he's cuter older, actually. I think his older self is cuter, but
I mean, just Ethan through the years.
I don't even remember.
What was your impression, Jen?
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't remember liking it that much when I saw it. And I think for me, it was because I also loved Reality Bites, and I didn't like, at the time, I didn't like this movie as well. And also I had this, I had seen Richard Linklater's I didn't like Dazed and Confused much either, to be honest, but I liked Slacker a lot, like his first big indie breakout. And I just liked Slacker was weirder, and Before Sunrise, it was taking all the weirdness and putting it into a pretty package, in my very pretentious opinion at that age. Okay. Because, like, I like Before Sunrise better now than I did when I was younger. Put it that way. Like, and yeah, and I think also, like, I had this unfair opinion of Julie Delpy at the time, which is weird because I was like, oh, she's just this pretty girl, and of course he falls in love with her. And I was a pretty girl at that age too, and I don't know why I was like hating on other pretty girls, but like, I think it was more like the idea of dudes always going for like super idealized pretty girls. Like he calls her like a Botticelli angel at one point in the movie, and I'm like, I don't know. I think I might have liked at that age the Lily Taylor version better, where it's just kind of a more normal looking girl. Like, you know, because that's like more like real life. But since I know more about Julie Delpy over the years, like I have a lot more respect for her. And we're going to talk about Linklater today, but we're going to talk about Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke, their careers next time. And man, there's a lot to know about Julie Delpy. So definitely tune in next week as well for that.
You know, I remember you really liking Slackers, and I think I started watching it, and it's the weirdness that I didn't like, and I never finished it. I still have never seen it, but I love Dazed and Confused as well. I think that
I didn't like it
still now even.
No, I don't like it still. Yeah.
Oh man.
A funny thing, Jen, I watched part of Slacker, also didn't finish it, but it was on your bed in the Portland house where we lived together. Yeah, you were like, you should watch this movie while I'm at work. You'll like it. And I was like, I don't think this is for me. I would like to try again. But I didn't finish it either.
Well, it's on YouTube right now. You can watch it for free on YouTube, the whole film. It's just there.
That? I might try it.
I still have my VHS tape of that. I still have it. Like, yeah.
That's the one. That's the one I watched part of.
Yep.
I love it. I love that.
So Zoe, like seeing it last year, what made you see the movie and what was your impression of it?
So I'm really bad at watching movies, and the longer people get to know me, the more, like, the longer their list of movies that it's ridiculous that Zoe hasn't seen gets. Because I love movies. I love good movies. I've never, for some reason, made it like a priority to watch movies, and I have not a whole lot of spare time, I guess. And a movie feels like a big commitment sometimes. Oh, I know what happened. I saw Boyhood, which is one of Richard Linklater's more recent films. And I absolutely love that movie. And someone told me, it was probably Chris, my Monadnock Underground partner, who was like, you should definitely watch the Before series. And so I've started. I watched one. I loved it. I really want to see the other ones. There's no reason that I've only seen the first one, other than that's how I am with movies.
So like I mentioned before, we're not going to do the whole cast and crew like we usually do. We're just going to cover today the director and writers of Before Sunrise. So the director we've just been talking about, Richard Linklater. And before this movie, before Sunrise, he had 5 directing credits, some of them for smaller things. The ones that were well known were Slacker, which came out in 1990, and Dazed and Confused in 1993. After doing Before Sunrise, he co-wrote and directed the sequels Before Sunset and Before Midnight. And Richard Linklater has 32 directing credits in total. Some of the other things he's known for are Waking Life, Fast Food Nation, School of Rock, and Boyhood that Zoe brought up. And he also writes or co-writes most of his movies. He has 23 writing credits. And he's gotten several Oscar nominations, but no wins. Nominated for the script for Before Sunset and Before Midnight. And then Boyhood was nominated for Screenplay, Director, and Picture. And recently he did Where'd You Go, Bernadette with Cate Blanchett in 2019. And so right now he's on post-production on something called Apollo 10 and a Half, which is supposedly a coming-of-age story set in Texas in 1969. And he's filming Merrily We Roll Along, which it says is about a composer who moves from New York to LA. So, I mean, he does some very dissimilar stories, I would say. And he's worked with Ethan Hawke on a number of films outside the Before universe, including Boyhood, Fast Food Nation, and The Newton Boys. And I think we kind of already talked about which other Linklater films you're fans of. I would say for me, the Before series is my favorite other than Slacker. I still love Slacker. Whatever. Maybe it's an acquired taste. I don't know.
But Jen, did you remember going to see Fast Food Nation in the theater in Portland?
Oh, did we see that together?
We did, yeah.
I was so annoyed by that movie.
I really did not like it. I actually totally forgot that it was this director because I just remembered it being really bad.
And like Avril Lavigne was like talking about freeing cows or something. Is that like, that's what I remember. It was really dumb.
I remember freeing cows in a really ridiculous way. That's my lasting impression of that movie.
And like the book is like a nonfiction, like pretty serious book, and they just made these weird fictional things happen. It was it should not have been made into a movie. It should have been a documentary, if anything. Sorry, Richard Linklater.
I love School of Rock. I think that's great and funny. And okay, I did see the Newton Boys, and the only reason why I remember, I think it's the film I watched while I was packing up my room before I moved to New York. But other than that, I don't remember any part of that film. Like there was no lasting anything about that movie. That's my take on the Newton Boys. I don't think it will hurt you if you watch it, but I didn't remember it.
And how about Boyhood? Have you seen that, Sophia? Zoe's seen it.
No, it's not yet. It's still on my list. Like
you don't need to worry about it.
Well, here's the thing. Like there are films that I know I'm going to just love and be deeply moved by.
Boyhood didn't do much for me, to be honest. So
really,
I mean, maybe if I watched it again, I don't know. Some movies you need to watch more than once, I think.
Well, Boyhood was so similar to certain parts of my childhood. I actually had to stop it and call my brother in the middle of it because it was like blowing my mind how like he had just hit this, like reality of our childhood.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, and just the feat of it. Over how many years was this film made? That like these actors committed to meeting up once a year or whatever to film a little bit as this boy ages, how they all age. That's amazing. Like artistically brilliant, and same thing with the Before series. Like these are years and years apart. And that alone is just very cool and unique amongst storytelling through film,
Yeah, like Linklater has like very unique techniques, and like I wanted to talk a little bit about that related to the writing too. Okay. So it was officially written by Richard Linklater and Kim Krizan, and it gets a little complicated. We'll get to that. So I want to talk about Krizan. So she appeared in some of Linklater's films, including Slacker and Dazed and Confused, in small roles. And Linklater ended up approaching her to co-write after reading her master's thesis. So he and Krizan worked on the initial screenplay together over 11 days, but then it was always meant to be, in Linklater's mind, like a process where he'd then take it to the actors and let them add their own, words, ideas, touches to the screenplay. And based on what I've seen in her interview, it seemed like Krizan was not super happy about that, and she's not in the special features on Before Sunrise. Like they don't even mention her. So yeah, it's a little, there might be some tension there. I don't know. Because then Richard Linklater took the screenplay to Hawk and Delpy. They changed a lot of things to make it feel personal to them. So they were doing rewrites throughout the filming. There was an interview, I think it was in the New York Times. I'll put in the show notes the link. They were up until 3 a.m. rewriting the night before shooting the final scene. And they filmed it in sequential order, I guess, too, which doesn't always happen at all.
No. Mm-hmm.
And so there's two different origin stories about the movie too. And to me, it seems like they're both true. You know what I mean? So Richard Linklater says the story came to him because he met a woman working in a toy shop in Philadelphia, and they spontaneously walked around together all night in Philadelphia. And then Kim Krizan says that the film was really inspired by her experiences forming short relationships or having interesting conversations on trains in Europe, and a time that she spent with a Norwegian man in Paris before he got back on his train. So to me, it seems like both of those stories are true. You know what I mean? Like ideas feeding into each other, but Krizan has a little bit been cut out of the things since then. She has story and character credits on Sunset and Midnight, but no like screenwriter credits. So that's a little different. She says she wrote an early draft of Sunset, but like in the special features on Sunrise, Linklater and Delpy and Hawk talk about initiating the process of writing Before Sunset together. Like they don't mention Krizan. So it's kind of, but Krizan's really interesting in her own right. This is close to my heart. She's an Anais Nin scholar, and she wrote a book called Spy in the House of Anais Nin, which is an academic, overview about Anais Nin. She also writes graphic novels. So she's an interesting person. I'm putting in the show notes a link to an interview that she did on a podcast called Popcorn Talk. where she talks a little bit about her experiences on this movie and more. But yeah, it does seem like it's like slightly fraught between the original creators, although I can't say for sure because I don't know them. Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
saw that bit about her being a scholar of Nin, and I'm like, Jen's freaking out right now, isn't she? Yeah.
I'm
I
not
know,
as
like,
into Austen as I used to be, but like when I was around that age, when I was in my 20s, oh my
Yeah.
God, I was like obsessed. I had all her books. Like, so
I remember.
yeah. Okay, so
Cool.
we already kind of talked about our opinions about the movie. So I wanted to really talk about Before Sunrise as one of the definitive Gen X movies. Like I remember Lee and I were watching it together. We watch all the movies for the podcast together. And there was this one scene, they're in a club listening to this like grunge music. And I'm like, let's go on vacation to Europe in the 90s. And Lee just said to me, let's just go on vacation to the 90s. Like there's just like there's a kind of a yearning in both of us to like recapture what it felt like to live in the 90s. My brother will sometimes express the same thing. Like there's just a certain something about that decade for us. And like I think the before the internetness of it all too, which we'll
For
also talk about
sure.
that later.
Yeah.
But like I was curious, like what makes a Gen X film to you guys, or a Gen X rom-com? Like what would that constitute?
I'm not a Gen Xer. I'm an elder millennial.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking a lot about like what makes something a Gen X thing versus a millennial thing. It was a writing prompt actually recently that someone else
Oh,
had given me,
that's
so it's
interesting.
kind of been on my mind lately. And the word that you said, I mean, you said yearning to be in the 90s, but I also think that yearning might be a quality of that era, just like earnestness and yearning for something, that I feel like might be missing now.
Hmm.
So what do you got? What do you think
I mean,
makes things Gen X?
gosh, I mean, it's high school, so it's like,
But what makes high school then different than high school now? Like, is there anything like if you looked at a product in like a
ooh,
movie or something and you're like, that's Gen
shoot,
X? Like,
we didn't have email. There was no email. I mean, I didn't get an email address till I was in college, no cell
so the
phones, no
absence
email.
of technology of certain type.
Yeah,
Yeah.
vastly.
Yeah.
Shoot. I mean, we were renting movies from Goldmine Video
Yeah.
and like I remember when like DVDs started showing up there. That was huge. The sound, the music, that grungy music and flannel
Yeah. Yeah.
is huge. It's got to be that technology thing, man. It really, whether I was conscious of it or not, or whether I would initially say that, I think that's a real big deal. It's a
Yeah.
real big deal. No Facebook,
Yeah.
none of that. Oh my gosh. How did we do it?
Oh no, I liked it better. Like
Yeah.
if I like honestly, like there are things I do like about having technology, but like if
Yeah.
I could go back to that time, I probably would. So for me, I've been thinking about doing a Gen X series of rom-coms for our show at some point in the future. And so I
Yeah.
was thinking to myself, like, how would I choose like what is a Gen X rom-com? And for me, I was thinking about some of the experimental ways of people who are starting to make films. Like obviously Tarantino isn't rom-com, but like the different ways of experimenting with time in film, like, and Linklater's doing that himself. Like in Slacker, it was like one person's conversation leading to the next, which is not original in and of itself. I mean, this was something you saw in like European plays like La Ronde, which got made into the Blue Room later. But like just like having this more in mainstream film where you're having these experiments with time, reality TV showing up, that was a big thing. And Jesse ends up talking about that. I have a clip of that that'll play in a little bit. And just like referencing pop culture, getting kind of meta. Yeah, you might be onto something with the yearning, Zoe. I hadn't thought about that before. I just assumed everybody was yearning all the time and being nostalgic and shit.
Yeah, well, I guess so.
I agree. Isn't everybody yearning
So
for
I guess to be a little more specific, maybe everybody's yearning for something, but I think that I'm like hashing this idea out right here and now. So
I
I
love
don't
that.
know. But like what you're saying about you're specifically talking about what makes a Gen X film. And I was like distilling it more down to like what is Gen X-ness, right? But
Yeah.
I think that the whole idea of like experimenting, that's really important because right now, if you look at the movies that are being made, it's like we're stuck in this like infinite time loop of like, reboots and part twos. And it's like, what is like the newness that we're reaching for now? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of doors feel more closed in, and like maybe Gen X was still trying to reach for something new just out of their grasp or something, and we've all given up by now. That's very cynical,
no.
but
Yeah, I'm feeling very emotional today. I might cry. Like, oh my God, you're right. Like, I'm so sick of the reboots. How many freaking Batmans and Spider-Mans? Like, swear to God, like, can you?
Well, I mean, that's more
Nobody
the
has a
nature of
new
comics
thought.
itself, though. Comics are always rebooting themselves too. So I'll defend that in
That's
Lee's
true.
honor, and for Lee's sake.
I mean, I love a comic book too. But like, enough. Yeah, what is new? Zoe, you're brilliant. Thank you.
So I mean, listeners, if you have a different opinion about that, if you can tell us what some experiments today are, please like write in feedback at everyromcom.com. We'd like to hear that.
Would love to.
Yeah, so I just other things about this movie. I had Ethan Hawke was like one of the big Gen X guys, courtesy of Reality Bites, which might be the most Gen X movie ever made. I mean, it's in the contention anyway. It also references reality TV. Like, there's a character working on a documentary of her friends in real time. And I think there's definitely this generational rebellion theme in the movie. Like, Celine talks at one point about how all her dream jobs were turned into career paths by her parents. I think like there was definitely this anti-careerist, anti-ambition kind of theme that goes through Gen X movies. There's usually someone who's a slacker or an artist, like not following the traditional ways. I think that's a key ingredient you need. And like philosophical conversations, my God, like everywhere, all the time.
Yeah.
And one thing in this movie, I really got a kick out of like the fashion too. Even though they're wearing the same outfits the whole time in different configurations, I got a kick out of Ethan Hawke. This is what he said to the New York Times. He's wearing this turtleneck in the movie, which I thought was so Gen X. And he's like, my stepfather had given me this burgundy turtleneck and I was in love with it. I don't know why. And then I just immediately regretted it because it was really hot. What idiot thinks they look good in a turtleneck in summer in Vienna?
Fantastic.
Somebody in the 90s, because no one wears turtlenecks now either, I don't think.
I mean, some people do, but it was a thing. It was definitely like his whole outfit, the Chuck Taylors, like the goatee, you know, the slightly long hair, the whole thing was just perfection, right? And she's got the fucking like slip dress over a t-shirt look going on, and the flannel around her waist. I mean, like,
I will tell you, we loved this film. This one of my dearest friends and I loved this film so much that when she did her study abroad in Europe, right? She had an outfit like that. Like, she specifically like was doing that outfit reminiscent of the film. And look, I'm in Europe now. And
that's amazing.
I love it.
So I want to play, like I mentioned before, like there's a reference to reality TV and different ways of storytelling. And I just wanted to play really quick the clip of Jesse explaining his cable access show idea to Celine, which that's another great, I don't even know if cable access is really a thing anymore, but here we go.
It definitely is. No, it is a thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I have this idea, okay? For a television show. Some friends of mine are these cable access producers. Do you know what that is? Cable access. I don't know. Anybody can produce a show real cheap and they have to put it on, right? And I have this idea for this show that would last 24 hours a day for a year straight, right? What you do is you get 365 people from cities all over the world to do these 24-hour documents of real time, right? Capturing life as it's lived. You know, it would start with a guy waking up in the morning and, you know, taking a long shower, eating a little breakfast, making a little coffee, you know, and reading the paper.
Wait. All this mundane, boring thing everybody has to do every day of their fucking life.
I was going to say the poetry of day-to-day life, but, you know, you say it the way you say it, I'll say it the way I say it.
I like that.
But no, listen, think about it like this.
Who's going to want to watch this?
Well, all right, think about it like this. Why is it that a dog, you know, sleeping in the sun is so beautiful? You know, it is. It's beautiful, you know. But a guy standing in a bank machine trying to take some money out looks like a complete moron.
So it's like a National Geographic program, but on people.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I can see it, like 24 boring hours, sorry, and like a 3-minute sex scene where he falls asleep right after, no?
Yeah, you know, and I mean that would be a great episode.
Yeah.
People would talk about that episode. I mean, you and your friends could do one in Paris if you wanted to. I mean,
sure.
I don't know. The thing that kind of haunts me is the distribution. You know, I mean, getting these tapes from town to town, city to city, so that it would play continuously, because it'd have to play all the time, or else it just wouldn't work.
Dude, that seems so prophetic now. Like, although, like, Linklater's vision of this is like this uncontrolled, like, unedited, like, purity, where it's become like things edited and manipulated so that we think we're watching real life, but we're really just watching this dramatization of real life, right? I've watched a lot of reality shows, like not some of the more like, you know, exploitive ones. Like I've never watched like the Kardashians or anything like that. But like I watch like Terrace House from Japan or like what else? I don't know. Have you guys watched reality shows much? Like, did you watch The Real World back in the day or any of that? Or
Sure.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Love The Real World. Do I watch reality now? No, not like the Housewives or The Bachelor or anything. No, I don't get into those. No, just like those shows that like go into people's home, like the tidying up shows.
Yeah,
the
that's more of
tidying
like
up and the org shows. Like,
and that's kind of become a different genre of reality show where it's like there's a purpose or a competition or you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But yeah, Gen X was right on the cusp of this. And I find it also hilarious that he's like, the hard part would be distributing all the tapes. And I'm like, well, have I got news for you?
Well, like, so someone recommended Terrace House to us because my family is learning Japanese.
Nice.
And so we watched an episode or two, and it had been a long time since I had seen that kind of reality show as opposed to like a cleaning or whatever. And it's like they all know it. It feels like it's completely extra fake because like now everybody knows what a reality show is and what you're doing, and like you're playing a character in a different feeling kind of way. And I could be wrong about that. Maybe the people on The Real World were just that fake, 15 years ago, but it feels like a different layer or level of acting.
Lauren Tsai from Terrace House, the Aloha State, I love her. She's an illustrator and actress too. And she was in Moxie recently on Netflix. But like she did kind of an expose a little bit interview about it, about how they would deliberately tell them, okay, now you have to be in that room and have a conversation about that. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she said people had real feelings and experiences, but also like a lot of it was manipulated. So.
Well, my sister-in-law was working in television production for quite a while, and she was doing reality stuff where she would be like, she would do interviews with them and like get to know certain things about them and then be like, okay, I'm going to throw this question into the mix and get you to talk about this particular thing so we can edit it to have a little story kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not again, hers were more like American Ninja Warrior. So there's like a competition, but she was one of the people like crafting the tales about the competitors,
Yeah. Well, getting back to the film, like just like this, we could talk about this forever, I think. But like getting back to the film, I just like that this is like kind of meta, that they just like stuck this in here. Like we're about to watch like sort of this, what seems to be the real document of like these two people meeting in real time, right? Like it's not really, of course, it's very highly scripted and not improvised, which some people accused it of being at all. Like, but it's trying to be a facsimile of that, right? And like here he's putting this idea right into the middle of that, this real time mundane things that people are doing. Like this is not a movie where a lot of things happen per se, but they also do happen, like the little like subtleties of conversation. So I thought that was a really cool touch on Linklater's part. Maybe he just wanted to tell about his cable access idea. I don't know. All right, so we're in the setup of the movie. They start out on this train. I think trains are like really romantic. I don't know about you guys.
Yes,
definitely.
sure.
So I just wanted to mention here, so it's a travel series we're doing still. And if you wanted to get a Uriel pass like Jesse got today, the global pass, which is 10 travel days of unlimited travel in that day within a 2-month period, is $489 if you're over 28 and $367 if you're Jesse and Celine's age, 12 to 27. So I think that could be a pretty good deal if you're doing a European trip now that COVID is starting to, hopefully peter out a little bit. And yeah, I just wanted to put that in. And yeah, and like on this train during the setup, like, so there's this romantic air of the train, but almost the first thing you see is this fighting couple, like this German couple having a fight, and which is actually what ends up throwing Jesse and Celine together. And according to IMDb, the German couple are arguing about which of them is an alcoholic after the husband reads out a headline about so many women being alcoholics. And then he accuses his wife of being an alcoholic. So it's like, well, that's an interesting fight. But I really find it interesting that this romantic movie opens with a long-term couple having a fight.
What I noticed this time is that it was the middle-aged couple, because they show the camera cuts to an elderly couple sitting quietly next to each other. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, it's the middle-aged people.
Well, they can't hear the older people can't hear each other anymore, according to Celine, because you apparently lose your upper and lower ranges, and
I totally think I have said that and legit went to the ear doctor and was like, I cannot hear my husband talking to me. She's like, well, when you're doing the dishes, it is hard to hear anything. Anyway, I think it's true. I can't hear him at all.
So this older couple fighting right next to Celine causes her to move over to where Jesse's sitting. They're both reading erotic books. So I went and looked up what these books they're reading are about. She's reading Madame Edouarda Le Morte, Histoire de l'Oeil by Georges Bataille. And apparently it is erotic prose about erotic excess and spirituality, but Bataille is known as a philosopher, so it's kind of highbrow. And then Ethan Hawke's character, Jesse, is reading All I Need Is Love by the actor Klaus Kinski, which is like this memoir that apparently has a lot of sexual content, including him talking about incestuous experiences he's had. So I'm like, whoa. But it's interesting they're both reading about sex, I thought.
Yeah.
Suggestive. Agreed. If you actually are able to catch what they're reading without a pause button. So they move then to the lounge car. Jesse invites her to the lounge car, and they start talking about the cable access program we already talked about. Jesse talks about seeing his grandmother's ghost. There's like little interesting stories. And then they arrive in Vienna just when things are getting going. So then Jesse makes his big proposal to Celine.
All right, I have an admittedly insane idea, but if I don't ask you this, it's just... it's going to haunt me the rest of my life.
What?
I want to keep talking to you. I have no idea what your situation is, but I feel like we have some kind of connection, right?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, right. Well, great. So listen, here's the deal. This is what we should do. You should get off the train with me here in Vienna and come check out the town.
What?
Come on, it'll be fun. Come on.
What would we do?
I don't know. All I know is I have to catch an Austrian Airlines flight tomorrow morning at 9:30, and I don't really have enough money for a hotel, so I was just going to walk around, and it'd be a lot more fun if you came with me. And if I turn out to be some kind of psycho, you just get on the next train. All right. Think of it like this. Jump ahead 10, 20 years, okay? And you're married. And only your marriage doesn't have that same energy that it used to have. You start to blame your husband. You start to think about all those guys you've met in your life and what might have happened if you picked up with one of them, right? Well, I'm one of those guys. That's me. So think of this as time travel from then to now to find out what you're missing out on. See, what this really could be is a gigantic favor to both you and your future husband to find out that you're not missing out on anything. I'm just as big a loser as he is, totally unmotivated, totally boring, and you made the right choice and you're really happy.
Let me get my bag.
So what do you think of his proposal to get off the train? What do you think of his pitch?
I don't know. Fine. I'm not bothered by it. I'm not
I'm saying put yourself in her shoes though. Would you respond to that?
I would have gone. I mean, if we'd already had given that we had great conversation and that I was enjoying myself, yes, I would have gone.
Would you have required the pitch, or would you go without it? I'd go without it. At that age, especially, I was very yeah, let's do it.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I would have, but just wanted to hear what he'd have to say.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Me now, I would go. Not married me, but me, my personality now.
Yeah,
right.
And I don't know if I would have in my 20s, and that's a little sad to admit, but probably true.
Would it be caution, do you think, or
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And just being more, I don't know, more I guess if I was that person who was in that conversation, I would have gone because I think it makes sense to go. But would I have even allowed myself to get caught up in that conversation in the first place? Maybe not at that age, which bums me out.
No, I totally hear you. I hear you. I might be daydreaming. I probably would have reacted that way too in real life, but I I don't know. Hard to know. Because sometimes I would go for things and other times I'd be like, no, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, like, I was very impulsive in a lot of ways. And I think there's maybe something to what he says, the character says about, like, do these things now so that when you look back, you can be like, well, there aren't roads that I didn't take. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I think he's being self-deprecating and in a fake way when he's like, you'll see that they're all just as disappointing, or they're like, all those guys were just boring, just like your husband. But I don't know.
I do think it's interesting, like, thematically, that he goes for that angle, like the future marriage angle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that it's hard to imagine someone saying that in real life, but it fits with the whole theme of the movie.
Yeah, with the different time things about time and death, which we'll talk about later. Yeah, and like I like how Celine, my husband really noticed this, how she pauses like ever so slightly before she disembarks from the train. She like her foot is just kind of in the air for a second or something. And they talk about an alternate timeline where she had stayed on the train. And in Slacker too, there's this the very opening of the movie. There's talk about alternate timelines, like what if this guy had stayed at the bus station? And I think that's very much a Linklater hallmark. They eventually arrive at the West Bahnhof train station, which used to be the main station, I guess, platform 7. So you can still visit that, but it is no longer the main train station in Vienna. So they get off the train and they arrive at Zollernsteg Bridge, which is not actually near that same train station, and they encounter their first Austrians, and some of the only ones that really get dialogue.
Excuse me. Sprechen Sie English?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Do you speak German for a change?
What?
No, it was a joke.
Well, listen, we just got into Vienna today, and we're looking for something fun to do.
Like museums, exhibition, things.
But museums are not that funny anymore these days.
And they are closing right now. How long are you going to be here?
Just for tonight.
Why did you come to Vienna? What could you be expecting?
We're on honeymoon.
Yeah, she got pregnant. We had to get married.
No, I don't believe you. You're a bad liar. Vielleicht gibt's einen Flyer.
Ja, sicher.
This is a play we're both in, and we would like to invite you.
You're actors?
No, not professional actors, part-time actors for fun.
It's a play about a cow and Indians searching for it. They are also in politicians, Mexicans,
yes.
Russians,
communists.
So you have a real cow on stage?
No, not a real cow. It's an actor in a cow costume.
And he is the cow.
Yes, I am the cow, and the cow is a bit weird.
The cow has a disease.
She's acting a bit strange, like a dog. If someone throws a stick, she fetches it and brings it back, and she can smoke with the hoofs and everything.
Right.
And as you see, there's the address. It's in the 2nd district.
Near the Prater. You know the Prater?
Oh, the big Ferris
With the wheel, yes.
Oh, I should go
Yes,
now.
the wheel. Everybody knows the wheel.
Perhaps you can go to the Prater before the play. It starts at 21:30.
21:30?
It's 9:30.
Oh,
9:30.
Oh, right. Okay, great. Well, what's the name of this play?
It translates as Bring me the horns of Wilmington's cow.
I'm Wilmington's cow.
All right.
Great.
We'll try to be there. Will you be there? Yeah, we'll try.
I'm the cow.
You're the...
Yes.
So much.
I do too. I love those Austrians, dude. They are so fucking Austrian. It is so fucking hilarious how they're like, maybe we can speak German for a change. No, it was a joke.
Yes, I'm the cow.
They're so throwing shade without like
Right. Like, no. Oh, man.
I love those guys, man.
Me too.
They make the movie for me now. Like, they really do. And like that fucking play, man. There's like Russians and Mexicans and communists and a mad cow.
And a mad cow. Brilliant. All of it. Brilliant. She can smoke with her hooves and oh man.
Would either of you see this play? Like, I think if I were with a cute guy, I would not see the play, but like if I were by myself, I would 100% be there.
I would
try to
definitely watch that play. That would be like the central event of my personal night in Vienna if this was my movie.
Even if there was like a guy that you were like really enjoying talking to, you'd just be like, we're going to that play. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. That would be very important to me. And then we could just keep talking about that crazy play we just saw.
What detracts you to the play, Zoe? Just the weirdness or like
just the weirdness, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
And just like, because I don't know, I feel like if you get off a train and you're embarking on this like wide open adventure, and those are the first people you meet, and they bring this play to you, then
That's right.
you have to accept that sign from the universe.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's a good argument for it. Definitely. I mean, how many bars and cafes can you go to? Like, really? So,
I would want to see this guy act as the cow. Like, what would he do? And like, but that a cow that's acting like a dog that can smoke, like that would be fascinating. I would like to see his process, his execution of that.
and what I love about this, and this is something I love about Slacker too. So just going to say, Linklater has a way of bringing in characters that like have their whole other world that you would love to see. Like you would love to see what these dudes are doing with their play, or what the German couple, follow them and find out what happens to them. Like Linklater has a way of seeding in minor characters that have like these worlds that you'd be interested in too. That's something I like.
Love that.
Yeah. Okay, so really quick question. I don't want to spend too much time on it because we got so much to talk about. But what city or place would you want to be stuck in overnight without enough money for lodging if you had to choose one?
Well, it has happened to me in Toulouse,
Oh, okay.
France.
Oh,
And it was actually really fun. And we camped next to a train station or a train track. We didn't know there was a train track there until we woke up in the middle of the night. And I definitely thought it was about to run me over, but it was about it was 8 feet away. But it was like in a ditch, and there was lots of really soft leaves, and it was really fun.
What else did you do? Like, was there things open, or like just wandering around, or?
No, we just went to this. It was like a park right next to this train track, apparently, and
Okay.
just to find a place to sleep. We had spent the day in Toulouse going to
Okay.
weird museums and stuff.
What if like you wanted to do more than just sleep though? Like, would there be a different city you'd pick or a different place?
Oh, just to like wander around
Yeah,
overnight?
so you could have a similar experience like this.
Oh my goodness.
I have mine. I'm gonna say,
Tokyo.
oh, good choice too. Okay, yeah. What do you imagine doing in Tokyo, or why would you pick it?
Boy, I mean, I picked it because I was there as the most recent place I've traveled, and I just feel like that's a city with like you could spend a lifetime not exploring every place there is to explore there.
Yeah, and my choice is similar. It's also in Asia, East Asia, and I think like Tokyo, I believe is also the same as Busan, South Korea, where I used to live. It's things are open all night, right?
Yeah.
Like you can find things that are open, which is not always true. So I would pick Busan just because I miss Busan, and also like you can do nightlife stuff. You can do karaoke. You can like go to a cafe really, really late at night, sometimes 24 hours. You can go to the beach. There's a couple beaches in Busan and just like sit on the beach. I once skinny dipped in Busan at like 4 a.m. I was the only sober one. It's really frowned upon there too, probably. Okay. Like it was probably not the best decision, but it was really late. And yeah, like it's a kind of place where you can have that kind of fun too, although much more crowded. Like it wouldn't have that same, era of you being the only people in the world or that dreamlike quality, right? It's just normal life in Busan for people to be up all night. But I think I would like to have options, Any choice for you, Soph?
Very first thing that popped into my head, a couple days ago reading this, I was like, oh, Paris, but I have zero grounds for that. And then now as you spoke, I'm like, oh, it'd be fun to, New York is New York City. I'm very familiar with that, but all night long and walking around and I don't know, Edinburgh. But I think everything closes. That's the problem. I'm like, don't a lot of things close.
Paris,
Like
you
at
might be able to find like
midnight.
jazz bars and stuff, like, and there's definitely parks you could probably like head to, I think.
Yeah.
So it'd be similar to Vienna, probably. I don't know about New York.
Yeah, I thought about that as I watched this time. I'm like, are all these places really open all night long? Is that
Some
true?
places.
It must be.
I mean, some places, bars stay open pretty late, I would say, probably in clubs, but yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, we talked about this a little bit before. So one thing that stuck out to me about this movie is like whether it would, this kind of situation is still really possible in the same way in the smartphone era. And this was an interesting quote from Ethan Hawke in a New York Times interview. So he said, my daughter, and his daughter's the actress Maya Hawke, who you may have seen in Stranger Things, as well as she had a small part in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Okay, so he says, my daughter, the actress Maya Hawke, decided to watch the movie with some of her friends, and there was a certain envy they had for a time where you didn't have email. Life insisted that you live in the moment more. There's something about always being digitally present that allows you to not be present. And part of what Jesse and Celine try to do in that movie is actually be present with each other. So I really resonate with that. Really, really resonate with that. Like, I didn't get a smartphone for a long time because I knew I would become addicted to it. And lo and behold, I became addicted to it. And I'll still find myself sometimes checking my phone when I should be in the moment with my husband. Or I do it less with friends, to be honest, because like I think I'm more conscious that I don't see them all the time. But like, really, why do I need to be on the phone? You know? And like,
Right.
I think meeting a new person like Jesse and Celine do, I might stay off the phone, but if I got awkward or nervous, I might check it. Or if I was lost and need directions, I would check it. Or if you're talking about a topic and somebody doesn't know the answer, you go and check the internet to find out the answer. And I feel like there's something lost in that. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? What's your perspective on this?
No, I totally agree. I do think I've got a group of people who we enjoy having conversations, and so we'll sometimes go down those rabbit holes that could be really easily solved by looking something up, but we just consciously refuse to do that so that we can have the conversation, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool. I think that it would be really different, and it might be less possible now with the distractions. Would they even notice each other? Like would they even
Yeah.
connect in the same way? But there is a romantic side to me that thinks that it is like if you have a real connection with someone, I think that you'll still have it and you'll still notice it.
You'll still look up from your phone?
Yeah, I
Like
do.
in the
I do
train
think.
and in the train and
Yeah,
see each other? Yeah.
I do kind of think that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One thing I liked that I noticed was they're both reading books, right? And like when you're reading
Right.
a paper book, you can see what the other person's reading and kind of make that judgment about that. But if you're on a
Right.
phone, somebody could be looking at anything in the world, like literally anything. You have no idea. But I like
Right.
the books as a personality marker thing that you don't see as many people reading physical books anymore. Okay, so they move on from the encounter with the Wilmington's cow cast, and they get on to one of Vienna's trams. And I just wanted to shout out Vienna's tram system is supposed to be really good. And apparently, there's like a 4 to 8 minute intervals between trams. Oh my god, I'm so jealous of the public transportation in Europe. And the system's existed since the 1800s. And I'm going to put a link to a Rick Steves video. He recommends using Line 1 if you visit Vienna to go around the Ringstrasse, and you can kind of do a little self-guided tour of some of the major historic sites and beautiful buildings. So they get on the tram, and they use the tram time to ask each other like kind of like a 20 questions kind of thing. And Jesse's first question is like, describe your first sexual feelings for a person, which is kind of a bold opener, you know?
Yeah. I just feel like, oh my gosh, what a thing. But I remember questions like that, like in college and whatnot, just like you go for it. Forget your favorite color. Tell me about,
Yeah, right.
especially people that you're feeling like you're connecting with, and you just get right to it. So
yeah.
I do feel like they both go for it. They both have a lot of like, they talk about sex pretty boldly or in their mentions of it, I feel like the whole time. So it kind of fits.
Sure. But it's interesting that they have him. He's asking, what's your first sexual feeling for a person? And she's like, have you ever been in love? And she answers him, and she gives him a little story about this guy she met at camp. And then they promised to meet again and they never did, which is interesting given the movie. And then when she asks, have you ever been in love? He's like, yes, next question. He's just like, he doesn't want to dig into it at all. And I thought that was interesting. It's a little bit gender essentialist in my opinion, but I mean, that's one of my main complaints about the movie is I think at times it's a little bit like classic man, classic woman, like man is about sex, woman is about love. I don't know. Do you feel that at all, or is that just me noticing this?
See, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like when we learn more about him later, his answer to that question makes more sense because it's like the love thing is raw for him. I think he's quite romantic and capable of talking about love. He's just that's just maybe more intimate of a question.
Just too soon. Too soon for him. Yeah. So let's see. And then later they get around to tell me something that really pisses you off. Yeah. What do you think, Soph? I think you were interested in her answer in particular.
She talks about a war being 300 kilometers away. And my semester abroad, there was war going on in an area of Europe that we weren't going to, but close enough to. And there was a lot of protesting. And we were like, hi, we're not American. Because nobody was happy with Americans again. It was, and just kind of a little more aware of and not even knowing, like looking back, it's like, oh, so first thoughts of like your privilege and your security and your, wealth and your situation. I wouldn't have never put words like that to what I was feeling, but just having a touch of awareness of something not so great happening not so far away,
Celine does go pretty deep. She's like probably referencing Bosnia, like you said, and then
Right.
but she's also talking about like the media is controlling us, and like which is a very Gen X theme, and then I'm being told by men on the street to smile, and having people saying it's so French, it's so cute. She says a range of things, and they're all like a little political or feminist in their essence, which is interesting. Yeah, I like she's set up as a very deep character, I think, in that sense. Yeah. And then she's like, what's a problem for you? And he gets into this thing about how, and this is a Linklater thing, I'm almost sure, like where he's like, what about reincarnation? There's too many bodies existing today and not enough souls to fill them. Like, to me, that's like such a pure Linklater philosophical thing. I don't know.
I can't commentary on the Linklater part, but as far as like Jesse's response and versus Celine's response and their, kind of things that they're thinking about in terms of like problems, and what's a problem for you? What are you stressing out about? It's like too many bodies, not enough souls.
He goes very like intellectual rather than personal.
But they are, I think that they are both like deep, like they're both really interesting angles, right? Like I'm interested in both of these people, but they are like hers are very like real world, idealistic, political, and but his is, I mean, if that's a problem for you, it's a big one, right?
Sure, spiritual stuff and like your place and it's a different. I think both are because I mean, I think with her stuff with like war and the people like controlling media, controlling whatnot, and then another half of like what's going on with my connection in the universe and my soul, and like that's. They all kind of emerge, like cross paths. They cross over. So to say one's thinking of another and they're like they're opposite, I think you're going to find it's the same question in a way.
Okay, so we get then after this, we get to the record store listening booth scene, and I was really excited to find out this record store still exists. It is called.
I like that.
Yeah, it is called the Teuchtle Schallplattenhandlung, and it's on Windmühlgasse 10. And I'll put that in the show notes, the exact location of how to get there. It's got a sign in front of it that says Alt und Neu, old and new, but it's actually has a different name for the shop. And it still exists. I don't know what the COVID stuff is for that, but like I could still find a website for it and a Facebook page. But apparently the listening booth was constructed for the movie. But there were a couple of people who were writing blogs about how they visited there. And like when the people found out they were visiting because of Before Sunrise, they helped them do like a photo shoot with each other and stuff. So it seems like it's a pretty welcoming place if you were ever in Vienna that you could visit. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I just love this scene so much. They go into this listening booth and they start this record and they're just kind of like looking at each other and looking away. And it's like, that feels like a real turning point for like, okay, this is more than just we're talking. There feels like there's real, I don't know, like real love starting to blossom. I don't know. It's just, it's really adorable and relatable and sweet.
Yeah. Their body language is so good. In the scene. And apparently like neither of them had heard the song in the scene before. So they were reacting to the song, which is called Come Here by Kath Bloom, in real time. And it has like these really romantic lyrics. So I think that could be part of it. Like, I don't know. What do you think, Soph? What do you think about the scene?
Oh gosh, I love this scene. Yeah, for sure. Like they're it's just everything that Zoe said. It's a good one. And that song is very romantic, and it's a romantic scene.
And Hawk told the New York Times that it's probably my single favorite take of anything I've been involved with, which that is high praise indeed.
For sure.
And this was a pretty recent interview too. So like it's encompassing a lot of his career. And Delpy in the same interview said, that was really special. It was like magic. Each time I felt Ethan looking away, I would look at him and vice versa. I almost fell in love with him right there. But then Rick said cut. They always refer to Richard Linklater as Rick, so I guess that's what he goes by. But I'm like, you can really feel that chemistry between the actors. Yeah.
Well, that's a really cool quote of hers too, because she says something in the film about magic, if it exists, being like the connections between people.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, she might really believe that. It sounds like she really believes that in real life, because it is that connection between them that's like no words, but it's still just like filling up the screen so amazingly.
Yeah, there's a certain intimacy that comes with being quiet with people as opposed to talking, like you were saying, Zoe. They've stopped having conversation. They're just existing together. I think it's a different way of building intimacy.
Yeah.
I think it was very clever scene all around. Yeah. So now they end up next at the Friedhof der Namenlosen, which translates, Celine calls it the Cemetery of the No Name, or I've also seen Cemetery of the Nameless. And apparently it's really hard to get there. So like if you're doing your Before Sunrise tour, this is one of the harder places to get to. You have to like take a train, a bus, and then walk. But it's an interesting, like kind of morbid scene in the middle of this movie. Like Celine tells Jesse that most of the people buried at this cemetery had washed up on the banks of the Danube from accidents on boats or suicides. And she goes to the grave of this one girl who had been 13 years old, and that's how old she was when she first saw it. And she said, now I'm 10 years older and she's still 13, I guess. And she looks so wistful about it. Mm-hmm. It's a very beautiful, melancholic kind of a scene.
It was hard for me to go back to being 23 or whatever and what I thought about death versus like now. I think when I was 23, I'm like, oh, that death thing is so far away and it's not going to happen to anybody I know or whatever. Where now I'm like, just kind of so terrible. Kind of just waiting around. I'm like, okay, who's next? And it's awful. Like understanding the reality of it happens. Anything can happen, as you know.
So I feel like these characters are being close to death and visiting the cemetery, though. Like, we'll talk about it later. There's an article I read about it that like talks about how much they talk about death compared to like your average 23-year-old who'd probably be at a bar instead of in a cemetery. Yeah. I don't know, but are you saying like maybe the movie is like romanticizing it or making it theoretical more than real? Is that kind of your thought?
No, not at all. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to remember what I felt then versus what I do now. It was more personal than like how it's played out in the film. So I mean, I don't remember conversations like that, I guess.
About death.
But about death.
I do, because my mom died when I was 20.
Right,
so like I started thinking about death like really young. Like, and it was kind of bad. In some ways pretty bad for me. My brother had a better reaction. He became very zestful about life and like, more spiritual. And for me, I had a very long time where I think it even to this day sometimes handicaps me a little bit. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I definitely thought about death. I remember like always being worried about it. And our little girl now is also like, she just says D. Are you going to D?
Oh my.
Die? and I'm like, I don't know. I say no. But I told her, I'm like, I was your age and I always thought about my mom and dad dying. All the time. I would like make myself cry, like as I fell asleep, just imagining them gone. And then when I got married, all I could think about was like, what if I lost him? And I'm like, it's okay, hun. You can go about your day still. I don't know how to like normalize it for her. I'm like, it's something we all think about.
I'm just like, for me, I'm wondering, like, I feel like it could be in the movie because, there's other things in the movie that are about death and time, but it's interesting to have it in the middle of a romance. Like, do you have any other ideas, Zoe, or like, is it not a scene that you care that much about?
I mean, I think that it does fit that whole theme of being super conscious of time and things ending. And maybe it is like to contrast the like your brother, how they can have this zest for this one day because the endings of things are like all around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I try to think about it to this day,
Definitely. I mean, I think that's the ideal, to be in the moment, to be in the now, and not to like have it on your mind and appreciate each moment. But it can be hard too. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think pushing it out of your mind isn't the answer either, right? It's like you have to be able to engage with it to fully be in the now, because you have to like, otherwise you're like a child, right?
Sure.
Maybe not an 8-year-old, but like otherwise you're engaging with it in like a very like non-mature way.
Yeah.
To be in the moment without the knowledge that the moment will end, or
honestly,
the moments end.
I feel like so many people walk around pushing it out of their mind though, like as a coping mechanism. So
Sure.
yeah. It's
I
like
don't-
that's the kind of thing Buddhist monks are doing. Like they're on the like let's meditate on death every day angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that pushing it out is I don't think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So okay, so after they're on this like, you know, trip to the cemetery, they then go to the Ferris wheel scene. And I love that this Ferris wheel is the same one that you see in The Third Man, which is a classic film. It's called the Wiener Riesenrad inside the Prater Park. I hope my German pronunciations are good. I think they're all right.
It sounds really nice.
and you can still visit there. I guess like they had some COVID restrictions, but it seems like they're reopening. Tickets are €12 for adults, so about $14.60 US at the time I checked, and €5 for children, about $6 US. Seems pretty reasonable for such a cool Ferris wheel. And it's part of a larger like amusement park space and green space, and the most of it is open from March to October, but the Ferris wheel is open year round. What I found really interesting about this is Julie Delpy's apparently afraid of heights, and like she has not been on a Ferris wheel since shooting that movie. And like, and Ethan Hawke was like joking that it's really like difficult to try to make out with someone who's terrified that they're gonna die or something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, they could tell you more about the Prater, or the Ferris wheel, but I'm not going to bother right now. But it was built in 1897, so it's kind of like a mainstay of the Vienna landscape, and it used to be quite unique. And like now, tons of cities have them, but yeah, at the time they had to shoot the scene in the morning because the wheel was operational. Still people were on it, and like they wouldn't let them stop as long as they needed to at sunset. So you're really seeing a sunrise, okay?
Huh.
And which is for the movie it's before sunrise, so there you go.
Right.
And let's see, anything else? And this is a scene where they have their first kiss, and let me say I love that like he's the one who kind of broaches the topic, hints at it, but then she's the one who has to close the deal. And part of why I love that is I'm totally like Ethan Hawke's character. Like I will bring things up, I'll be like, I'm interested in you, but then I immediately get shy. And like, I need somebody to close the deal like Celine does. I also like it when women are kissing first in movies. I like that because you don't see it enough.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you guys like? What are your opinions on the scene? And
I mean, when I was young, even still, I'm like, love it. And then, but I noticed that this time too, that she's the one that actually, kisses him. And I thought that was kind of fun too. I'm like, yeah, girl.
Yeah. So it's kind of arbitrary to declare a spoiler section for this movie, but we can now talk about the end of this movie. We're still not going to talk about sunset or midnight, but we can now talk about the end. So if you haven't seen Before Sunrise, jump out now and get back to us. So we're going to another mystical place. We're going to the palm reader scene, which takes place at the Kleinest Cafe. I don't think I checked whether that's still open. I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll put, links to where you can find these places in the show notes. And one of the only actresses who has a lot of IMDb credits shows up as the palm reader, Austrian actress Ernie Mangold, still working today. And they're sitting at this cafe table when they kind of catch her eye, and she gives Celine a palm reading. She said, "You are an adventurer. You are interested in the power of the woman, in woman's deep strength and creativity. You are becoming this woman. You need to resign yourself to the awkwardness of life. Only if you find peace within yourself will you find true connections with others." And then she goes and looks at Jesse's hands for a moment, and then she tells Celine, "You will be all right. He's learning." Which I kind of loved. I liked that palm reading, and Celine loves it too. And then Jesse predictably does not love it. Like,
right.
And this kind of becomes their first sight of conflict, because she's like, "This is so cool, romantic." Like the palm reader departs and she said, "Everything we know is stardust. So don't forget, you are stardust." And he's like, "Oh, it's a scam. She just told you what you want to hear." Like, are you guys more of a Celine or a Jesse? Like if you had this like interaction with this palm reader, do you think you'd be cynical like Jesse or like romantic like Celine about it?
I mean, if it was like such a nice palm reading,
right.
It would be hard to reject it, right?
I mean, I love this. I would so jump on like palm readers, tarot cards. Like I love like read my future. Tell me what you see about me. Like anything Yeah, as long as it's good. Like I get a kick out of that kind of stuff.
Have either of you gotten a palm reading? I had one once. Have either of you had one?
No.
So my palm reading was like in Amherst, Massachusetts or somewhere, like when I was in college the first time. And it was so boring. She was like, you're going to get married once and have 3 children and not do anything very remarkable. And I'm like, okay, well, you're already wrong, lady. part of me wonders, like, maybe I'm supposed to like get married 3 times and have 1 child, but the clock is ticking on that one too. So
Well,
I think she told my brother though. She told my brother he was going to travel all over the world and have a very exciting life. And I mean, she's right about that. So, 1 for 2, I guess. I don't know.
Bizarre.
So, but I like that kind of stuff too. I would totally be with Celine on that. And Jesse's like, just kind of like, I don't know. And he's like, I think but like Celine points out, maybe he's most upset because the attention's not on him. Do you guys think that's somewhat?
Yeah. Like if he had gotten like that same kind of like, deep look into him, I can see him being into it too. But he kind of got brushed off as like a side character to her palm reading.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, yeah, if they were like, you're going to be famous and achieve all these great things and like, yeah.
Right.
Oh, and she will be a good partner to you or something. Yeah. If he gotten that.
It's funny.
And then this gets echoed in like the next scene, I would say. Like, so they go and they're by the river, the Danube River, and they encounter this like itinerant poet, like kind of begging by writing poems and being like, pay what you will. And this is the first time I'd heard of this concept, but I've seen it since the movie. I don't know if Linklater had seen this or like if it's like something that was like became popular because of the movie. But I always thought that was a cool idea, like writing poems for people and then asking pay what you can. And they give him the word milkshake and he has to make this poem for them. And like Celine's like, oh, it's a great poem. I like it so much. And Jesse's like, he didn't just write that. Like he had them written. He put the word in. And it's like, it's the same thing of like, he's cynical because it's a scam. And she's like, oh, it's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like, again, I ask like, are you Jesse or Celine in this situation?
In that situation, I don't think I'd care. Like I would just appreciate that. Here, I'll write a poem and you pay me what you think. Like I like that exchange. And I'd be like, sure, I'll pay, an artist, whether he wrote it immediately or had it already pre-written. I just like this idea of like paying an artist for their work. And
yeah, so I like that. I like that attitude. Mm-hmm.
I still think I would snark on it like Jesse in that case. Even though I would be happy to have done it because it's a fun little experience.
Right.
And,
yeah. Yeah, these are the kind of experiences I think I'm more vulnerable to if I'm traveling. Like I'm more willing to do something like pay somebody to have that story. Whereas in day-to-day life, if I was walking to work, I might not be like, oh yeah.
Right.
And then we get to the what I call the meaning of life scene, sort of. Like Zoe, you were actually referred to this before. Like I think like it's worth reading the whole quote from Celine. Do you want to read it, Zoe, since you were talking about it before? I have it.
Sure. Yeah. I believe that if there was any kind of God, it wouldn't be in any of us, not you or me, but just this little space in between. If there's any kind of magic in this world, it must be in the attempt of understanding someone, sharing something. I know it's almost impossible to succeed, but who cares really? The answer must be in the attempt.
That didn't strike me when I was younger, I don't think, but it struck me this time. I don't know. It must have struck you, Zoe, because you brought it up, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I was watching this, I was thinking about one of the questions that you put in this planning document about, do you identify more with Jesse or Celine? And this scene here is really hard for me because I do think that having really good, loving relationships is super important, but there is always part of me that's looking for something more, that is looking to excel in some way beyond that.
Yeah, which is what Jesse says. He wants to make sure at the end of his life he's achieved something. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if then Celine comes in and talks about an older man she worked for who only thought about his career, but didn't put any of himself in it. And so his life was basically meaningless. I think that there's a way to do both. In my, in my late 30s, I feel like it's not an either or. I think that there's ways to have both. So
I think one thing I will say is that you can control sometimes what you achieve career-wise more than you can control particular kinds of loving relationships. Of course, you can have loving relationships that are platonic with many, many people pretty easily in life, but like sometimes love is chance too, I would say. But yeah, I definitely have prioritized love more. I mean, I think if you put your attention on it, you might be more likely to find it. But yeah, I'm definitely more of a Celine, and I love this quote. I think it's very profound. That by ourselves, we are not necessarily, we need some kind of interaction maybe. And maybe for me, maybe that interaction could be like platonic too, or with, pets or whatever, like, but that effort to like connect. I don't know. Sophia, any more you want to say about any of these themes or?
So throughout this whole film, and this is something that this was my mid-20s, living in New York and waiting on people at this theatrical bookshop and stuff like that. And I felt, a Joni Mitchell line, from A Case of You, where she goes, "Love is touching souls. Surely you touched mine. Part of you pours out of me," in these lines from time to time. I think about that line all the time, that love is touching souls, just having these moments with people, our souls touching, and that was beautiful, and that was love. I mean, just think about the people that are even like my little tiny students, my little 3 and 4-year-olds. Like, I think our souls are touching, and that's love. Like, how I'm just so in love with these little people and care about them so much, and their families and stuff like that. I don't know. I guess there is that this idea of like a magic of in between, and these little moments of souls touching, and I don't know. That's my romantic part.
That's really cool.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
I can't help but think that is excelling in some way, to go back to quoting Jessie. And maybe I'm the one that's like trying too hard to like twist their meaning so that I can have it both ways.
No. So we come now to the Cafe Spurl scene, which is the telephone game scene. And we heard like kind of a lot of Julie Delpy's half of this conversation already in the trailer. It seems like they just took the trailer from her conversation. They like go to this cafe, and like she comes up with the idea of having a fake telephone conversation with their friends back home about what's happened. And apparently Delpy said in the special features that she had played this game with her friends as a way of having conversations at times, which I thought was interesting. And so in Celine's half, she kind of ends up revealing how she feels about Jesse, like, what she likes about him. And then she plays his American friend. And I've got to play this clip because it's like hilarious. I love her impersonation of the American. So here you go.
Okay, it's your turn. You call your friend. Okay?
All right. Ring. I usually get this guy's answering machine. Ring.
Hi, dude. What's up?
Hey, Frank, how you been? Glad you're home.
Cool. Yeah. So how was Madrid?
Madrid sucked. Lisa and I had a long overdue meltdown.
Oh, too bad. I told you, no?
Yeah. The long distance thing just never works. I was only in Madrid for a couple days. I got a cheaper flight out of Vienna. But, it really wasn't that much cheaper. I couldn't go home right away. I didn't want to see anybody I knew. I just wanted to be a ghost, completely anonymous.
So are you okay now?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I'm great. That's the thing. I'm rapturous. And I'll tell you why. I met somebody on my last night in Europe. Can you believe that?
That's incredible.
I know. And you know how they say we're all each other's demons and angels? Well, she was literally a Botticelli angel. Just telling me that everything was going to be okay.
How did you meet?
On the train. Yeah, she was sitting next to this very weird couple that started fighting, so she had to move. She sat right across the aisle from me. So we started to talk, and she didn't like me much at first. She's super smart, very passionate, and beautiful. And I was so unsure of myself. I thought everything I said sounded so stupid.
Oh, man. I wouldn't worry about that.
No.
No, I'm sure she was not judging you.
No, and by the way, she sat next to you, no? I'm sure she did it in purpose.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Us men are so stupid. We don't understand anything about women.
Mm-mm.
They act kind of strange. The little I know of them. Don't they?
Yeah.
I was smiling for them for the whole time. Oh my God.
I smiled through this whole movie.
I thought that was a really brilliant way of filming or doing a scene, you know?
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about it?
I love that scene as well. And you can go to this cafe. It exists. You can have your moment.
Yeah, we'll put that in. It's in the show notes as well. But like, yeah, like I just love I love the method of revealing vulnerability by the remove, the fake remove of having a conversation with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Would you do that in real life? I can't imagine doing it in real life, but I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah, it seems it's another one of those times where they seem just like so bold in almost an unrealistic way, but it's still, it still works. And they're so eloquent. I don't know. I feel like I would not be able to say the smart and clever and sweet things that they say in real life. I would be much more of a dork.
Well, they did have a script. Yeah.
Yeah. Too bad life does not have one.
That's an Ani song. Life is a B movie. It's stupid and it's strange. And there you go. So
wow, you're really bringing in all the song quotes. Oh, wow.
I got it. Yeah. A directionless poem and the dialogue is lame. There, see, that's real life. Thanks, Ani.
Awesome. That's a very Gen X touch to bring in Ani DeFranco, by the way.
Thank you. Yes.
Nice.
Yay.
Oh, and then anything more about that scene do we want to say? Cafe Sperl, like you mentioned, you can visit, founded in 1880. We'll put it in the show notes. Beautiful ambiance. It looks like beautiful scenery or furniture design, etc. And apparently you can eat good things too, but yeah. Anything else about the scene though? But
Jen, would you do that phone game? Because you were saying earlier that you just kind of go for it. You just put things out there. Would you do that? I put
things out there, but that's the thing. I probably wouldn't need the phone game to do it. You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't know if other people would be into that phone game, like it feels like the sort of thing I would suggest to someone. They'd be like, I don't want to do that. I don't know. Can you imagine you just like met some guy like let's do this phone game, bring and the guy's like, what are you crazy?
I think that Celine and Jesse are past that point though. They've already said yes to so much. Like the phone game is minor.
Right, I can see that. So after we're skipping some scenes in the movie, but the next scene I have down is the park scene. So they have gotten they've convinced a bar owner to give them a bottle of wine and some wine glasses, and supposedly Jesse's gonna send him money for it later. I hope he did. And you see them in the park and they've just finished drinking their wine and they're lying on their backs in the grass. It's all like shot from above. And I noticed it's a full moon, so it's like the whole romantic thing is all there. And then they start, the subject of whether they should sleep together comes up and whether they're going to see each other again, which they talked about previously. But yeah, it's very tense scene. And Celine's like, I don't want to be this great story of you met a French girl on the train and you fucked her. and he's like, but I want to see you again. And I love this quote. This quote really did stick with me even when I first saw the movie. Jesse says, listen, if somebody gave me the choice right now of to never see you again or to marry you, all right, I would marry you, all right? And maybe that's a lot of romantic bullshit, but people have gotten married for a lot less. And the reason I say I remember this quote is because I actually used this as a litmus test at times in my 20s. Like if I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay with someone, I'd be like, well, if I had to never see them again or marry them, which would it be? I'm pretty sure a couple of my breakups got decided by that or staying together with. Yeah. Because I'm like, well, it's worth asking. Right? I don't know. Am I nuts to have used that?
No.
I mean, why waste your time with somebody that you would just as soon not see again? I don't know. If you can get to that, headspace and answer the question honestly, I just think most people can't answer that honestly all the time.
It's interesting though. I like that as his sort of I don't think it's using it as a line either. I get the feeling he really believes what he's saying. I never get a sense of falseness from his character. Like,
Mhm.
even though some of the things he says are like way too smooth or way too good to be true, you know, I never see
Yeah.
Jesse as like just full of shit.
I agree.
Yeah.
And maybe that's probably why I love these characters so much. I don't think either of them is, bullshitting. They just put it right out there. I love that. And I love this line too. I think it's I think it is romantic. But romantic but true. I don't know.
And then yeah, you're left with the option to like not know whether they slept together, but like I always read it as they slept together. Like, how about you guys?
I definitely always did too. Yeah.
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 She has, because in the next scene, she has like a different hairstyle configuration and she's not wearing her little t shirt under her slip dress anymore, too. So I don't know. But yeah, I like that they leave it like that they're not being, I think it's better without a sex scene, though, at the same time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Maybe they just went and skinny dipped at 4 a.m. and that part just didn't make it into the film.
Definitely. Definitely. So now we come to the next morning, and this is actually to me some of the most beautiful parts of the movie, in my opinion. You get the view they would have when they woke up of the sky and like hearing birds, and they're walking down this like little street, and a harpsichord music is playing, which at first you don't know it's actually what they call diegetic music, which is music that exists in the world of the film. They come upon this guy just practicing his harpsichord in his home, or probably, and it's so romantic and beautiful, and they're standing outside there, and I like this line Jesse says, "I'm going to take your picture," but then he doesn't take her picture literally. He takes it with his eyes, like just looks at her, and she does the same thing, and there's no, she's not like, "Oh, don't you have a camera?" Like, no, they just both get it. So beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's something that wouldn't probably happen now, like when people are just taking pictures with their phone in their pocket all the time.
Yeah. 100%. Like you'd have like a Jesse and Celine like posting their shit to Instagram like constantly. Probably.
Yeah.
Right.
I will say though that even though I take pictures like all the time and every day of like everything the kids do, I definitely take tons and tons of pictures. I don't post them. I'm not a big poster on social media, but I like collect all these moments, There are still some like extra special times where I don't even think about taking a picture. Or if I think about it, I'm like, oh, I don't want to spoil this by taking a picture. So I think that there's like still like those carved out moments, at least for me. I don't know about you guys.
I hope there are people in the younger generations that are like, doing that. Like I probably just don't know enough people in their early 20s to take a good survey of that. Anyway, yeah. And then, man, this I just found out this morning. I was so interested in this. Like, there's the scene that you see in a lot of the posters where she's like lying on his lap looking up at him and they're sitting by the statue. I don't know what the statue is, but apparently it's in the balcony of the Albertina Palais Museum. There's this sitting by the statue, and Jesse starts reciting a poem, and he only starts with the first part. He says, "The years shall run like rabbits." And he only says that line initially. And then he says this other part, "All the clocks in the city begin to whir and chime. Oh, let not time deceive you. You cannot conquer time. In headaches and in worry, vaguely life leaks away. And time will have his fancy, tomorrow or today." So that's the part that actually gets in the movie. And obviously that's very meaningful in and of itself, right? This notion of time going away and they're about to leave each other, etc. But what I found really interesting is this is what comes after "the years shall run like rabbits." So it's like, "The years shall run like rabbits, for in my arms I hold the flower of the ages and the first love of the world." So he's reciting, like, so when you look at the whole poem, you can think to yourself, that's what he was thinking of, right? He said the part, "The years shall run like rabbits," but probably what made him think of that, the character, were the lines about holding this love, and I found that out this morning because I decided to look up the poem. And it's a beautiful poem. I'll put a link to it.
Yeah.
That made me tear up a little bit.
I love. Yes. Beautiful.
But it's so interesting. It's built right into the film. The things that you say out loud and the things that you're thinking, that inspire what you say out loud. Yeah. I love that. Anyway. Now we are back at the train station. Okay, so they go to the train platform and they still don't have any plan for meeting again. like they've kind of made a vow that they're not going to, but then like at the last minute they're like, oh fuck, this is ridiculous. And I love that the first plan they make is like, Celine's like, well, we can meet again in 5 years. And he's like, 5 years? It's like, and she's like, oh, you're right. That's like a sociological experiment.
Yeah.
Because that's so true. And then they go to 1 year, and then finally they're like 6 months. And like, they're going to meet from 6 months from last night at track 9 at 6 o'clock at night. Like very exact. But they won't exchange phone numbers or emails or whatever because they think it's, or addresses because it's too depressing. And I'm like, really?
I
would have that guy's phone number. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I know. Killer.
Do you guys like it? Do you guys like this? Like, or Zoe, how do you feel?
I think it's really romantic, but I don't know if I could do that either. I mean, it's a very specific sounding plan, but too many things could go wrong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, come on, we've had great conversations. Write me a damn letter. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's also romantic. Writing a letter is romantic. If you didn't want to do phone numbers, at least addresses, I think sounds reasonable.
You could have an epistolary romance. Come on. Yeah.
Letters are the best.
And then they could write each other more questions, and then they could have time to think about them, and I wouldn't feel so stressed out.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And they have this like really passionate kiss, and like this very last minute, she really has to get on the train. And apparently they actually did rehearse and time the scene so that she's getting onto an actual train that is actually going somewhere.
Oh, wow.
So yes, Sophia, you have some idea probably doing film and theater, how difficult that would be to all get into place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I can say to that. Like, yeah.
And then after they part, we see them on their own again. She's on the train. He's walking, I guess, to the bus to his plane. And then I love this touch. So they show all the spaces of the city that they had talked in or existed in, but without them there. And that calls back to something that's in the next theme. The first theme I want to discuss of death and time. I don't know how to get from here to there exactly. That. Well, I'll just reference it really quick. So that you see all the spaces of the city they inhabited without them. And that's kind of referencing this earlier thing with Seurat, the painter. But I didn't really see that was referencing that until I read this article by Michael Koreski, which is called Transitory Figures, One Scene from Before Sunrise. And I'll put a link to that, obviously. And he's talking about kind of the themes of death and time in the movie. And one scene, the scene he references is when they are looking at the flyer that's on a post for this Seurat exhibition. And Celine's talking about the paintings, like his human figures are always so transitory. And this was not a real art show that was going on at the time. So it was placed in the movie on purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And I just, like, she's saying, like, the human figures almost appear to be dissolving, like the landscapes are more real. And so to end the film with these, like, landscapes without the people, that they have been transitory, I love it. It all just fucking came together for me. And he didn't even mention that in the article, I would like to say. So I came up with the part about how that's related, but I wouldn't have come up with it without his work. So I love how film analysis will feed on each other. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the larger article though is about how there's a theme of death and time in the movie. And the quote from the article, most 20-somethings think they'll live forever, but the one-night stroll through Vienna of young Celine and Jesse is marked by both the filmmakers and the characters' constant awareness that their time, both here and on Earth, is limited. And he just mentions how they talk about Jesse seeing his grandmother's ghost at the beginning of the movie, Celine's fear of flying and dying, the cemetery scene. And Jesse at one point mentions his friend who has a baby, and when the baby was born, the friend couldn't stop thinking he was seeing something which would someday die. And I was like, yeah, this really is a lot of death, like just sewn through the whole movie, which I'm not sure I would have noticed before. So I'm going to shut up now. And anything you guys want to say about death or time or anything?
I'm going to say no. I have nothing more to add to that. I think I was more aware of those conversations this time than when I first saw it.
Yeah.
I guess I wonder if the death is on their mind so much because it is a time limited situation that they're in and so the ending of it is like built into the beginning. And we sort of talked about this before, but I just wonder if like because it is just this one, evening that it's got this expiration date.
Yeah.
If that is kind of like a microcosm of how, like, I don't know, we all have an expiration date.
Definitely. I definitely think that's, yeah. I think it naturally lends itself to thoughts of mortality. Yeah. And I think a lot of times people won't form relationships because they're like, well, where could this go? Like, we're just going to have to like break up someday or part someday. But I like to think of it like, you never know when someone's going to die. And every relationship you ever get into, somebody's going to get hurt eventually because somebody's going to get sick or die or leave each other. Yeah.
Well, my husband is quite a bit older than me, and that was a big question when we got together. But my argument to him, and I did have to like convince him to jump off the train with me. It was like, well, there's no guarantees for anybody of any age.
Yeah.
That if we love each other, we just have to go for it and make what we can make in the time that we have.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, and you reminded me now too of like about people of different ages. I like the scene where Celine says she feels like an old woman about to die and her life is just memories. And then Jesse responds that he feels like a 13-year-old boy pretending to be an adult. And I think that's interesting because it's like you can be at certain ages also, but have different conceptions of yourself. Like,
for sure.
is that relevant to your relationship in any way, Zoe, or do you both feel kind of like your ages?
That's a great question. I don't really know what it means to feel an age, I guess.
Okay.
I guess now that I'm in my 30s, I do feel like younger people seem super young to me in ways that they didn't before. I think that's something that you said to me once in Portland, and I was like aggravated, like whatever, you're not that much older. Yeah, I think that you made some comment about young people seeming young, and I'm like, whatever, like age is just a
Was I
number.
referring to you at the time though, or was I referring to people who were even younger than both of us? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I think that back in those days you were aware of our age difference.
Okay.
Because it felt bigger back then.
But I always hang out with younger people, so that doesn't sound like me. But I'll take your word for it, though.
I mean, it was probably just a throwaway comment on your end, that I just like took hard because I was always wanting to seem older than I was.
Okay,
and so now I feel like young people seem young, right? Like that makes sense to me. But I also feel like life is bigger now and fuller now, and I forget what my train of thought was there because I was just trying to remember exactly what you had said.
You're nursing an ancient grudge. No.
But no, I guess even with my husband being so much older, age has never felt, it just isn't a thing. It's just like I just like to engage with people as people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do know. I do understand the inner age thing though. Like but for me, it changes all the time. Like I relate to both of them. Like I sometimes feel like Celine's talking about like, I just feel so old and like I've seen so many things. And like, I feel like I can relate to older people about to die and like looking back at your life. And then I also sometimes feel like Jesse, where I'm like, I'm just pretending to be a grown up here. Like, especially right now when I'm not working and I'm like, I just like recently bought a used karaoke machine that had been used by like some kid who had grown out of it. And I'm like, okay. I'll still putz around and do like little kid things too. And I don't have children, but even when you have children, I think you can get into a child mindset too, where you're like engaging with children on their level. So I can feel all different ages.
Half the toys we bought for our daughter were for ourselves. And we're like, oh, I want to play with that. Toy stars! Yeah, legit.
It's easy to get into that excited, everything new mindset, I think, when you have kids. But it's not the only way to get there.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I definitely feel like the pretending to be an adult thing, I don't know. I kind of think people of all ages feel that way. I mean, there's sometimes when I wake up and I'm like, where's my permission slip for I can just take these small people. We can go wherever we want. We can buy ice. We had ice cream for dinner. Like I have days like that where I'm like, how am I allowed to do this? Where's my permission slip for life?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So let's see. There's a lot to say about conflict. We could almost do an entire episode just on all the things they say about conflict. But are there any things that stick out to you guys about like different conflicts in the movie, like between men and women in relationships?
I wrote down one piece where they're really talking about men versus women and that kind of thing, but they're holding hands and they're putting their arms around each other, and I get a kick out of that, where I feel like my husband and I have had those conversations where we're like, men do this and women do that, or you do this and you do that, but we're like, holding hands and hugging and touching, you know what I mean? And I don't know. It's like, I think those arguments, maybe we don't care in the long run. We just like to get each other's goat.
For me, that was one of the less relatable things when they started talking about like men are like this, women are like that. And I think it's because like, I think, and I don't know, but I think I don't sometimes act like women are supposed to act sometimes in relationships. And my husband, I think, definitely doesn't act like a stereotypical man. Like a lot of his friends tend to be women, right? And like he doesn't identify with a lot of like man things. There are a couple things he does that I'm like, that's like a man, like,
Yeah.
but like not liking to shop, right? Or something like that. But like other than that, like we haven't really had those conversations, but I think they are real conflicts that people definitely have. Like I think I've always just gone for guys who were very not stereotypical man like, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. Do you relate to the themes of like man versus woman, Zoe? Or
I think for me, it's harder like having kids because they're physically dependent on you. And it's like, for me, that was kind of like I really can't escape being a woman.
Okay. Yeah.
I
That's
mean, I
another
don't,
distinction.
escape is the wrong word, but it's like, it just highlighted like some of those things like, oh, okay, well, I am a nurturer because I physically have to nurture this being, whether or not that's like my personality or how I interact with everybody else on this earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting.
And there were certain things that like I found more difficult to do, having small people like needing my actual body, right? So that Kurt would have to step into that role. And it was a little bit of like, wow, this is how that is, almost like I could step outside of it and say, this is how that happens. But I don't think that it's had a lasting impact on how we relate as people.
Sure.
If that makes sense. Because he's also not he's not like a stereotype either. But who really is a stereotype? I think.
Well, I met a few people who meet the stereotypes. But
I guess.
You could go to some sports bars and probably find them, but I don't know.
That's true.
That's Greg's nightmare right there. He's like a guy's night watching a sporting event with, he's like, he would rather not. He's like, that's horrifying to him. Greg has always had friends who are girls and that he's closer with, and same.
So like they're not even thinking about childbirth or anything at this point, though. Jesse's like bringing up this thing where like men are like sort of designed to like sleep with lots of women or something. And he brings up this island idea. There's an island with one man and 99 women. It would work out better biologically because you'd get 99 pregnant women, right? And if you only had one woman and 99 men, there's only one opportunity to have a child or something. And I kind of roll my eyes at that even still.
Yeah,
and I kind of like part of Celine's response, like not the whole response, but I like the part where she said the guys would probably all kill each other because they'd be trying to like fuck the one woman. and then but then she says on the island of women they would end up killing the guy or eating the guy after he impregnated them. And I'm like, that takes it too far for me.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just silly. I think it's a silly conversation because again, this is the one where they're still holding hands.
Yeah,
and she puts his arm around her. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
but remember, Celine also brings up, "You're lucky that we don't kill you after mating with you," and then she also brings up that she'd written a short story about killing her boyfriend. So there is this undertone of like, like.
But then she also says, like, I mean, she comes off as this woman who like hates men, but she's like, no, really, truly, I'm a softie.
Sure.
So
yeah,
I don't know.
I think she has more of an edge to her than I do on that level. I do think that.
Same here. I really do love men for who they are. Yeah. They don't have to be like not man, maybe not stereotype man, but I do like men.
Right.
I love that as a title for something. I want to use that as a title for something. I don't know what. Stereotype.
Men.
It had caps when I said it just then. Yeah. Stereotype man.
Okay. Oh man. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. Do you want to say more about conflict or men versus women? Like they stopped talking about it in the
No.
movie. They're like, women and men
Right.
just keep having this conversation over and over. Let's drop it.
Yeah, it's like kind of fruitless. I don't know. So let's go back. Let's go on. I mean,
Okay, so one thing I did want to touch on really quick is just there's the idea that comes up again and again in the movie of the ideal versus the real. And like Celine tells Jesse a story about how her grandma spent her whole life dreaming about another man she was in love with. And Jesse said it was better not to be with that man. If she'd gotten to know him, he would have disappointed her. And then he had mentioned in the train, right, where he's like, if you follow me, you'll never have to wonder when you're married, like whether you could have had something better because I'll bore you or something. And I'm like, I don't know if he really believes these things, but it seems like maybe he thinks that we make romantic projections and then people disappoint us in the end. And then I like Celine's response where she's like, I'm the opposite. I think I could really fall in love when she knows everything about someone. I don't know. I don't know what I think about it, where I come down on this, but I like that there's the interplay of those two ideas.
I think those are Jesse's worries and his concerns that he's going to be found lacking and boring and that there'll be regret that somebody chose to spend their life with him or something. Because I think he says it. If I had to choose now, if someone gave me the choice of, never seeing you again or marrying you, I would marry you. And people have gotten married for a lot less. Like, I mean, what lesser thing is he worried about and fearing that he's gonna live up to someone's disappointments or something like that? Does that make sense? Like, I don't think he truly believes it. I think he's just afraid of that.
Okay.
That's
yeah.
my 2 cents.
That resonates. I also think you can't really love somebody until they disappoint you, and that you know what I mean, like that you see the things about them that you don't like and then you choose them anyway.
I do feel like I loved Lee like immediately, like although I'd known him on online on LiveJournal, but I felt such a pull to him that felt like supernatural. Actually, like it didn't feel just even physical. It felt like super, like something had intervened.
Sure.
Love was touching souls. Your souls were,
yeah, like there was a communication underneath the real sort of, but at the
No,
same time, I do know what you're saying. Like, and I don't feel like I'm really friends with someone necessarily either until we've had a fight. So, Sophia, I don't know if we're friends yet because we haven't had a fight.
I can.
We're due for a fight. Zoe and I have definitely had a fight before. So yeah, we can be.
I don't do that. I don't really fight with my friends. I feel like I've had enough fights with my immediate family. Like my friend world is the opposite of that. They're so to me we're good. But
well, I'm willing to have one in the future.
Bring it. Okay.
It could be a minor conflict over a palm reader. I'll just throw that possibility out there.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, we'll work on it.
So you can plan for that. But no, I totally hear what you're saying, Jen, and I think that is real too. So I don't know.
But yeah, but I think being able to know a whole person and be disappointed is important for sure. And people,
yeah, I definitely mean it in more of like a knowing a whole person kind of a way.
Yeah, because I mean, who's to say other people don't have experiences they view as supernatural, and then that person, one bad thing happens and they don't love them anymore. So I haven't had that experience, but maybe someone has. So yeah.
Or even if you're pulled together in a supernatural kind of way, like maybe it's still important to like fully accept the whole person or get to know the whole person. Like that might be like the initial spark, the initial pull, but it still needs to keep going. I don't know.
Yeah, can you pass the test of reality? So, do you guys want to say anything more about the film? Because we're getting into where we're going to talk about the travel locations and double feature ideas. But any final thoughts you want to put in before we head there?
I just want that I'm still endeared to this film.
Yeah,
from 17 to now. Yay! That makes me
I would
happy.
say that it has deepened considerably for me watching it now to where it was when I was younger. Yeah. And I like Julie Delpy a lot now. I love her, actually. I can't wait to talk about her on the next episode, actually.
Cool.
Any final thoughts from you, Zoe?
Oh, I'm just really glad that I watched it again. So thanks for encouraging me to do that. Because
Nice.
I have such a long list of movies that I want to see that going back to see one, to watch one again that I have recently seen almost never happens. But it was a good experience, and it is so deep and rich that it was worth seeing even recently, even though I had seen it recently.
Yeah. Cool. Excellent. So I'm really quick. I'm going to list off a couple of the Vienna locations that we were in the film, but I didn't mention previously, and they might be places you might include on an itinerary. And then Sophia's got a few she's going to run past you too. So they briefly go to this place called Maria Theresienplatz, and it's located. It has like a lot of statues, and it's located by the Natural History Museum and the Kunsthistorische Museum, which is the art history, like historical art museum, and that museum would be number one on my itinerary probably, because like I can't even list all the great painters they had there. So many great painters: Tintoretto, Albrecht Dürer, Peter Bruegel the Elder, Vermeer, Rembrandt. It just goes on and on. In addition, they have an Egyptian, Greek, and Roman collection there. Just looked fantastic. So I would definitely go to the Kunsthistorische Museum if I were in Vienna. And they visit two different churches, which I didn't really do a lot of research on them, so I'll just list them in the show notes. But one of them is the exterior church is in the Third Man. And there are a couple other like just random streets and alleyways from the Third Man. I think maybe Linklater is interested in Orson Welles, who's in the Third Man, because he did a movie about Orson Welles later in his career. So that might be why, but I'm not sure. Just one other thing, they're playing pinball in the cafe. It's the Arena Club Cafe, which is still open. It's like not in the city center, but like you can still go and see shows there, apparently. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, cool. Yeah, that's what I had for some other sites in the movie. And I would obviously go to the Ferris wheel too, and some of the other places they went to.
Yeah, I'd totally go to the Ferris wheel.
All right, it's all you, Sophia. Tell us some other sites.
Sure, I would like to see some Klimt while I was in Vienna. And I found a link that has several museums that have different pieces, different works. And why not check out something Mozart, because that's where Mozart lived and whatnot. And as I was looking up these other things, a Freud museum and like walking to, or like, I don't care about Freud, but if you do, hey, while you're in Vienna, he has spent time there. So there's things to see for those.
I want to say I would totally go to the Klimt Museum too, because like just the nature of his art, it seems like it would be so much more beautiful to see that art in person. Like there's definitely some artists where seeing their canvas is worth it, and I think he'd definitely be one of them.
Yeah, totally. And if we have time, you can do a day trip to Salzburg. It's about 2 to 3 hour train ride, depending. And I got to spend some time in Salzburg, and I had a lot of fun. I did not go to Mozart's birthplace because I focused all my time on the Sound of Music tour. And yes, friends, it was fantastic, and you must do. Nice. So there you do. That's all I have to say.
That sounds great. That sounds awesome. And Zoe, just checking, have you ever been to Austria? I'm just curious. Like, I don't know.
I have not, no.
Yeah. Well, I got to say, this is like, of all, Sophia, you said you were having a hard time with the travel series that's giving you Wanderlust. This is the worst it's been for me, okay? Because Vienna was like the place in Europe that was like my fourth choice. We only went to 3 places. And then Vienna was the place where I was like, almost like, maybe. So I gotta go. It has to. Well,
I also saw like tour guide things for like all the Viennese coffee friends. Go to all the coffee shops and drink all the yummy coffee and have all the little cakes. It's like my favorite. Yeah. So
coffee and cakes.
I'm there for that as well.
It sounds good to me. And okay, we only have one person who hasn't seen the sequels. So Zoe, how much do you know about the sequels?
I know enough spoilers that I can't answer this question.
Oh, okay. You can't answer it in a purely.
Yeah, I know it too much.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask the question then of everybody. The first time you saw the movie, did you assume that they would meet up again or not?
I mean, I hoped they did. I wanted them to. So that's all. I just dreamt about them meeting up again.
I knew that there were sequels, so I knew that they must.
Yeah. Like, well, I mean, the sequels could be like them being around together, like some other way too. So
I guess that's true. Well, so I assumed that they met up in the sequels. Yes.
Yeah. So I I always assumed that they would keep their date and meet in 6 months. So that was where I was definitely an idealist. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Linklater said in some interview that it's kind of a litmus test for whether you're a romantic or not, whether you think they get together. And Linklater said that like him, Delpy, and Hawk all thought they would get together again, but he met a lot of people who was like, no, they'll never meet up. So,
Oh, wow.
Okay, so now we're going to get to our double feature recommendations. And obviously, you should watch also the sequels. So that would be the ideal double feature or triple feature would be watch all the movies together, right? But aside from that, if you've already seen the sequels, you just want to watch something different. And so this is the way we do it. We do it, each of us lists one, and then we move on to the next person. Okay. So my first double feature recommendation is Slacker, the 1990 Richard Linklater film. You can rent it on some platforms, but it's also on YouTube right now in its entirety. I don't know how long that'll last, but it might be up for a while. And the reason I recommend it is it has a lot of the same philosophical meanderings of Before Sunrise, and there's notions of different time streams coming up in the movie, and you just get to see these like the origins of Linklater and these like funky Austin, Texas like personalities in this movie. And I know you guys both have tried to watch it before and stopped. I think you have to be in like the right mindset, kind of like that you're just going to watch this meandering, somewhat plotless thing and just watching a bunch of weird characters and but to me it's like such pure essence of 90s. Like I love it, and I love the weird characters in the movie. Yeah, I loved it when it came out. I still like it a lot. Yeah, that's my first.
My first recommendation is so this is kind of last time Jen did a great like year by year recommendation. It was really awesome. And this time I kind of did by accident and it worked out well. So I say Singles, which came out in 1992, directed by Cameron Crowe. That is like fantastic. I think it takes place in Seattle and is the epitome of grunge. I think Pearl Jam is even in it as like, a band and the coffee scene. And oh man, I love that film for that whole Gen X vibe. Fantastic.
Right on.
And my first recommendation is Boyhood, which we talked about a little bit before. It's Richard Linklater's 2014 film. And I picked it not really intending to pick another of his films, but just because I think that the way that they both play with time would be really interesting to compare and contrast.
Yeah, I see that. And then I picked The Third Man as my second recommendation. It's a 1949 classic black and white noir film set in Vienna. And like, I like the idea of having another film where you see a lot of Vienna, and it's also a classic film that everybody should see at least once in their life. The director is Carol Reed, and one of the stars is Orson Welles. And there's this like fantastic, iconic scene that's set on the same Ferris wheel. And yeah, it's just definitely worth your time. Like I saw it first as a film student when I went back to college the second time, and I don't think I would have seen it on my own. I had to be kind of forced, but I'm glad I was forced to watch it. So yeah.
In 1993, Linklater came out with Dazed and Confused, and I just love it for its like teenagers in the 70s. So it's not a Gen X like story.
But we were obsessed with the 70s in Gen X though, so it is still a Gen X story.
True, right? I think it's great. So just another Linklater vibe.
Yeah,
Dazed and Confused. Mm-hmm.
Oh, everybody loved that film when it came out. Everybody but me. So it's still very Gen X, I think, Sophia.
All right. Okay. Good.
And so my second pick, this popped into my head while I was rewatching this movie, was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, 2004. Because, well, there's like a meeting at a train station element. There's like a beginning and ending of a relationship element. There's a like, those moments that make up love element. That's I think why that popped into my mind.
Dude, when you explain it, it's like, yes, obviously. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, good one. Jen, what do you got?
Oh, let's see. I've just got one more, I believe. So yeah, I watched this one because of you, Sophia, because you had brought it up in the outline here. And Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong was in 2015 film, written and directed by Emily Ting. And I feel like maybe it's referential to Before Sunrise, maybe not. I don't think it's as good a film as Before Sunrise, but I think it's maybe as close as you can get to like a similar story of two people meeting, spending a lot of time walking around talking together. and like gradually developing a relationship. But it's like in the context of like today's kind of younger people. And it's very different in flavor as a result. These like kind of ambitious people who already have kind of like careers. And so they're not really like flakily talking about philosophy and shit, which I love. Flaky is not an insult here. It's just what I think other people might think. They're talking about more real life stuff and like, but they do have interesting conversations more as the movie goes on. At the beginning, I think I was watching it out of duty, but towards the middle, I started getting really into it. And it also has an ambiguous ending. So don't expect to be satisfied. But yeah.
You're right. Totally. Everything you said. What do you think about how the use of like cell phone and Facebook and all that was played in that?
I think they used it less than I would actually expect those people to use it in reality. Okay. And one of the things, they have her cell phone be kind of like not getting a good connection. Like it's like that's one of the plot points they have to use for these people because she was going to use her maps, right? And only because her map isn't connecting does she even meet this guy.
Right.
So now they have to constantly be like handicapping people's like technology in order to have plots. Same thing with horror movies. You always have to like make some stupid thing happen with their cell phone for horror movies to work anymore.
Interesting. Okay. I also recommended, we talked about it, was Reality Bites.
My favorite. One of my favorites.
No, can we just talk about that? Can we watch that one and do it too? I love
Gen X.
Okay,
we are doing a Gen X series. I don't know when it's happening, but we will do it. Yeah.
I'm excited about that. And then for just for shout outs for Austria, you should watch Mozart and The Sound of Music. So having nothing to do with Gen X-y kind of vibes, but for Austria.
Nice. And then I think you didn't have any more, Zoe, unless you came up with some in the interim somehow. But
no,
that's
that
fine.
was it for me.
You picked two really good ones, so really good. So I guess we've come to the end. And I just really, Zoe, I want to thank you for giving us so much of your time today, for joining us. Again, you can find Zoe's work, monadnockunderground.com, which is in the show notes. And so seek that out. See if you want to submit to her, what would you call it? Newspaper, anthology, website?
We call it a journal of thought and spirit.
Ah,
ooh, I love it.
I like it. Yep.
Thanks.
Cool.
And thank you for having me on. Yeah. Oh, nice to meet you too. This has been such great fun.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. Yay. And everyone, thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of it. Please remember to rate and review and subscribe to Every Rom Com on Apple Podcasts.
And don't forget to join us next week or thereabouts, because sometimes we're a little late, when we'll be continuing the Before series in Paris with Before Sunset.
Talk to y'all later.
Bye.